Still don't got it. I still don't have it. I still don't have a intro. I don't have a uh anything. Call sign, nothing. So we're just gonna jump right into it. I feel like now week three is I'm feeling I'm starting to get a hang of what these are per se. And I'm just gonna let it these are rants. These aren't even discussions. These are just I'm just ranting about whatever comes across my way within, you know, uh, that week figuring stuff out. So I think that it's very healthy. Um, it's a very healthy way of going through life. I think just kind of ranting your way through life because you just got to figure stuff out. If you don't talk about it, you can't really figure it out. That's just me. You know, everyone has their own mechanics in their head, I guess you could say. But for me, I have to rant. I have to rant. I rant 24/7, 8 days a week about whatever I want to do because I'm just. If I was to describe, what kind of person I am or anything like that, it would really just be a how do they say? I don't want to say creature of habit, but it's I have to figure stuff out. Like stuff has to make sense to me, you know. Like I give y'all a history tour using Voyager as a starting point, right? I came up with Voyager, just the pure concept, like not everything I've come up with recently, but just the pure concept of Voyager came to me like 8 years ago. You know what I mean? Like it was at a point I was playing. I used to stream a little bit, not like anything crazy or anything like that, but I was like, I wish I could make my own thing. You know what I mean? And then I think like anyone else, like I played Mass Effect. And I was like, yo, the world is so big. And then I played Mass Effect Andromeda, and I was like, the world could be so much better. And it's just kind of like that thought just where it kind of came from. And I thought about the concept, and in general, and I was like, well, what would I do for certain stuff? And I started really just developing the concept, just piece by piece. And then as media and time goes on and things change, I start to notice certain things within like big business and just kind of like, well, I think I could do that better. I think that, it really does look like a cash grab per se, you know. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'd say there's really nothing wrong with that at all. But I want to be able to do stuff better. And I think that like I'm not doing it in the notion of I want to make all the money in the world. I want to do it because this is the thing that I wanted to do. Now, to say all of that, didn't get into, the how am I going to get there, right? So, 8 years ago when I thought about the idea, what I should have did, right, which is everyone, you always know what you should do after it's over. But what I should have did was picked up what I really like, and that was uh, coding. I should have learned how to program. I should have learned how to code. I should have went to school for that. But I think that the one thing you really can't avoid is the circumstances that you're put in the present time. So at the time, my family had owned a restaurant, and so I worked in the restaurant for most of my life. And I'd say not most of my well, I guess at the halfway point. So I like the half of my life I've worked in restaurants, and it just being it's one thing to work in a restaurant, and I think it's another thing to for your family to own a restaurant. And it's just a completely different dynamic, and so, like, I just didn't wasn't really afforded the time to, like, figure it out, and I didn't really understand the notion of how important, it is to pursue what you want, and so I pretty much spent my time again, everything that I did, I went to school for culinary, I did things to benefit my, family's restaurant, right? Learn how to do more things, learn how to cook better, learn how to become more efficient in kitchens, learn how to be a better manager, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I did try, with a lot of things. I did try my best to do certain things like anyone does. Like, I'm not saying pick up a basketball and then go shoot a three. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that's just an insane thing to ask, or just for more complicated terms, I wouldn't ask you to solve Paragonum theory equations or anything like that. You know, like I'm not even a math major. I don't even know if I said that right. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't expect you or anybody to know anything how to do anything the first try. Just give it your best, and that's what I did. And I think that I really tried to do all that I can to be helpful and be useful, things like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so fast forward, I just kind of like going through. Now I never forgot my concept of Voyager. Like the entire time, I'm really working on it. Like how I'm gonna, like how would I introduce it? Like how can I do? It's like with the skills that I currently have. How can I showcase this to the world? And I thought of so many different things. I came up with a book. Right, I said, you know what? I could do a book. If I write a book, you know what I'm saying, and it was really good, right? The story was great. I know I do great in developing plots, points, and things like that. Like that's a skill of mine. And I'm like, you know what? I could do that. You know what I mean? And so I tried it, and I'm like, yo, I'm just not the best writer. I just not writing is not my forte. The story, absolutely, even the script. I mean, my thing is. I never went the script direction because that's like industry I did try something. Like I did put my toes into like the whole directing spiel and get into the industry, but I was like, that's not me. You know what I mean? Excuse me. That's not me, so I couldn't I didn't never I never said I'm gonna pursue that, you know. But if it was a script, absolutely I could have tore that to the ground. But I couldn't do it. So I was like, it was writing the story, and I wrote the story. I was writing it, and I think that I think I had put it into, I don't know what what I had put it into, but you can put your book, no matter how far you've gone into a program, and it tells you like the age range of like the words you would use and things like that. Like and I just my thing was kind of like, I'm not saying I want a college level book, you know what I mean? But it was kind of like, I want to say it was like maybe 11th grade level or something like that. It said but it was relatively average. You know what I mean? And mind you, I don't think that's a bad thing because it was, in a sense, my book would go into like the young adult genre. I think it's not like a Harry Potter kind of thing, but I think it's more like maybe Twilight. I don't even know if Twilight was young adults, but my books have nothing to do with that. I'm just trying to think of like how to categorize the genre, but that doesn't matter. So, yeah. So just getting back into it, I was like, let me do that, and I was writing a couple chapters, and I think I got to like chapter 11, and then I was kind of like, it's very difficult to figure out how to do this. I didn't know how to do the transitions from chapter to chapter. I thought you kind of just wrote and then split it up. It's not really how you do it because it doesn't sound right when you read it. I always read my stuff back to myself, and then on top of that, it was just more so like I was just writing straight to the point, and then my thing was so also I kind of was like I didn't know how to immerse you into the story. I think that was like another cue for myself is that like even though I'm writing the story and you're getting right to the plot and you're getting like to the story, it's like nothing's really immersing you in there. And I did try in certain elements, but mm, we're not gonna get deep into it. So the book, for the most part, took a turn. Maybe like a pause. It took a pause, and then, I went into like, oh, what if I did the apps, right? I did the app thing, and that's when I kind of like did that. And I'm not going to tell you the timeline. I'm just telling you like the uh chronological order of like how I would do things. And so then it was the apps. I was like, oh, I could do apps and things like that. Maybe I can do an app, blah 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 blah, without really understanding how complicated the world of apps and everything was, especially 6 years ago. You know what I mean? It just was like I'm not. I know they make it really easy nowadays, or as easy as it possibly can. But for me, it just was an unattainable thing. So I tried to network with other people who maybe had been able to do it. And it's just a whole convoluted thing where it's kind of like it just kind of fizzed out, you know. And then from that point on, again, just the project itself, like the point I'm just trying to reach at with it is I kept trying to shift my focus from piece to piece, right? On like what is the Voyager project, And as I started piecing together these different focus pieces, I was like, but I can't do it now, but it would be a really, really good piece to add in later. You know what I mean? Like it's just I kept the idea itself kept, or the concept kept evolving until, it came to a forehead. I'm sorry, came to a head. And I could never I could not be happier about that. You know what I mean? I think that like it's a beautiful thing to be able to say like, oh yeah, like even though I didn't get my idea done year one, I know I have a better idea today than I did yesterday. You know, and that part I like. But to try to like just to chime back in on what I mean by why it kind of took so long itself is because like I mean circumstances or your situation and your current circumstances will dictate kind of like how you move through life, and I think I said like for my family working in restaurants to me working in other restaurants and so on and so forth. Like my focus has always been like I have to make sure that I have enough money for myself, before I can survive, live, and like with anyone else, like, I had to get a job, and there's like a whole bunch of different stuff, and so I think a lot of my focus went into like doing different things that could potentially, not make me a whole bunch of money, but make me enough money so I can say like, oh yeah, we don't have to, we don't have to get deep into Oh yeah, no, well, whatever. But yeah, it's just like not to make a whole lot of money, but just enough money so I can say like, I'm making extra income and I can get from A to Z a lot faster. Like I didn't want to come up with $1 million clothing company. I just wanted to make an extra, $1,000 a month. You know what I mean? Like that's was always my mindset. But at the same time, like it's just it gets convoluted and stuff. Where it's just to say like I still also think about no matter what it is, like what is the potential of the thing I'm doing, right? So I've done like clothing lines, I've done body cares, I've done a lot of things, um, boutiques. I tried to do one of those like vintage, like one of those vintage stores and things like that, and not upset about it because everything I've done has always been on the cusp of success, right? Like I've never kind of like washed out with anything necessarily. But I would always stop because I would also say like, well, even if I did do this, I mean, the time that it was required to do this thing, even though I don't even really want to do it, is so astronomical versus what the payout is. Like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I always get stuck in that vicious cycle of like doing something, working on it, figuring out how it works for myself, then putting a bigger effort toward it and then kind of thinking like, damn, but is this all this effort I'm putting into it? Do I want to continue to do this effort for the next 10 years? Like, no way. No way at all. So that once I got to that mindset, it's like, do I want to continue this for the next 5, 10 years? Once I get to that point in my, thought process, it's like it will shut off. Like I will lose interest. I will not want to do it. And even though, like I said, like the stuff that I do try to do, I try to make my stuff as unique as possible. So in most cases, some of the ideas and components are unique and can be utilized in, farther down the line with other stuff. I still don't want to do it. I think I just don't want to do it. If I can't see myself doing it for the next 10 years, then I'm just not going to continue doing it today. So that's just kind of like how my brain works, and this is why I know. I think with that, I think with that kind of mindset, you can give yourself a chance to figure out, you know, do you like what you're doing? I think that's the for me when I was working in my family restaurant, I never really had the chance to ask myself like, do I see myself cooking for the next 20, 30? It's like 10 years is just very rudimentary. Like you can spend 10 years in a career and then like, figure it out. But it's like, you thought high school was you thought high school was long. I mean, like think about spending 10 years at a job that you hate. Like you didn't even like high school for 4 years. So what is you're adding an extra six because and that just makes you nothing but miserable. And so you really have to afford yourself the luxury of asking, do I see myself doing it for the next 10 years? I think with me being so young, I was like 15 going into the culinary industry. It's kind of like, wasn't doing anything else. You know what I mean? I'm just in high school and I've besides, being in high school, it was just like working and helping the family. And so I didn't get that chance to say like, do I want to cook? It made sense at the time because of my family restaurant, but I was in my family restaurant for about 10 years. You know what I'm saying? And it made sense because it was the family restaurant. So it's not like a notion where you think like, oh, do I like this? But if I just work for anybody, I would have figured it out in 2, 3 years that this isn't for me. Yeah, I would have switched a lot sooner. Versus because I like cooking, but as a job and career, no way. This is not. It is not a fun industry at all. I think that you can make it fun, under certain circumstances, and you can find your joy in it. But for me, nah, I just think I just this wasn't for me. So I think that once you ask yourself, like, can you see yourself doing it for the next 5 years? I'm just gonna break it down a little bit lower because I'm like, you see yourself doing for the next 5 years. If the answer is yes, then you can put some, time into it. And after you get to that 5 year mark, you'll go, can I do it for another 5 or 10? You know what I mean? If you say yes, then you found your career. You found what you love to do, regardless of how hard it is. Because even if whatever you find, like whatever you want to do, it's never going to be easy. Like it's not easy to do what you want. Like that's another notion that I think that is kind of really overlooked nowadays is that you can't it's not going to be a fairy tale, you know what I mean? Like there is no cutscenes or anything like that that doesn't fade to black when you know what is it when the boring stuff pops up, right? Like you have to put the work in, you have to spend the time honing your craft, networking with people in that same space. You have to do those things because if you don't, then you'll never, go where you want to. I think you'll wash out. I think this is it's highly unlikely that you'll just continue to find success by yourself because no one finds success by themselves. But I just say that to say, you know, for me, Voyager was the thing that I liked and didn't recognize it because I found it. I found that so early. I didn't realize it because again, my circumstances didn't dictate that. Like I had other things in my mind, I had other priorities, but I know I like this. And for like the last 8 years, I've always worked on the concept until I've gotten to today, where I'm making YouTube videos. And let me just also say, I don't like making videos. I don't like recording. Like I always look at the videos that I see. I think I'm a bad character of comparison, right? I feel as though when I see other people doing things, and I see these great videos, great editing, great quality, all these different things. I always not second guess it, but I felt a little inferior, which I think anybody would. I think anybody would feel inferior to seeing like, yo, I'm driving a hoopty and you're driving a Maserati. It's just no way around it. Even if it wasn't for the name brand or luxury, it's just more so like, Mars already has more power, right? It's a sleeker design. You know what I mean? Even if you took away the name brands about them, it's like it's just a better, arbitrarily a better car, right? And that's just how I think about this. It's like, I'm driving out a hoopty. And I think that stops me from doing a lot of things. But because then 'cause also my thing is like I don't really like doing any of this in general. Like I prefer to just go out and about and just walk the streets. You know what I mean? Like just really explore, go eat food, and just kind of like enjoy my day, enjoy my life, enjoy the sun and shit. Like I prefer to do that versus um, I think like guess creating content or anything something like that. Like I don't know. And I feel like I believe in authentic moments. Like I don't like a scripted moment. You know what I mean? Like I don't like having to feel as though it's just what I have to do. You know what I mean? I don't have to make content. I want to do it because I want to make content. Because it's just not my thing. It's like I don't do it. And I think like the landscape of how you create content has also changed too. Like so I was man, I mean, podcasts have taken off. I mean, people just say insane things. You know what I mean? And I guess that's just them. It's fine. I think you have a right to say whatever you want. Um, but we're not going to get into the politics of what kind of content is out there, whatever. But I think it's just at its base form, it's just people just talking. And so I was like, I'm gonna do that. I think I wanted to kind of go the podcast route, but I'm like, yeah, not that. Like, nah, there's no way I'm not doing podcast. Like, that's its own effort in its own. But I'm like, you know what? Just do this. I think this is why I decided on this. And when I really figured out, like, okay, well, what I need to do is create a publishing studio. So it's not like it's just that's all it was. It was a need. I feel like to make to make what I'm doing make sense, I needed to have a different component, right? Like my Voyager project is just it's so massive that like it is very hard to find a starting point. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to start with a project that big. You can't start too small. You know what I mean? Like it's just not designed that way because it's just so much more connected to it. Where I could, if I guess us other stuff going on, I could just write the books and stuff like that. But it doesn't. To me, it's like it's just not big enough. And so I needed a component that was going to be allow me to work on the Voyager project at my pace and really be able to put this because it's also to say like I don't want to just put something out there. You know what I mean? As far as what I want to do, for the rest of my life, I don't want to just like put it out there piece by piece. I want to present that shit as like enjoy the show. You wouldn't watch a movie that wasn't finished. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't go pay if Deadpool was only half done. You wouldn't pay a full ticket price to go see it. No way. You know what? You just wouldn't do that. Like I take that same notion and to say like I wouldn't want to introduce you to my project if it wasn't finished. Now you can always add to it. I think that's another thing. I'll always add to the project. That's why it's so massive. There's so many different components, put in it. Where it's like there's the central hub, but it branches off in so many different directions. And I think that's fine. But that hub, you know what I mean? Like that centerpiece has to be finished. Like whatever that is, and I know it has to be. It's very specific because it's like whatever that central hub is, everything that branches off from it, it makes sense. As a collective, project. You know what I mean? It has to. This is the main component of the game. Like that has to be finished, and everything else is secondary. But I won't bore you with that. The point I was just trying to make was that I needed to find something that essentially would allow me to stay within in the field because you networking you have to like I'm not going to be able to complete the Voyager project in any capacity because I've never immersed myself in an industry where I can network with people where it makes sense in general. I have no idea. I don't know one coder. I don't know one writer. I don't know one artist. Kind of know artists, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm talking about personally. Like I personally know them. Of course, I've seen them, but I personally know an artist. No way. I don't know. I don't know any at all. And I've never had to. You know what I mean? Like, that's another thing. I never had to know anybody like that. Because I mean, what is a coder programmer going to what is that going to do for me? And I'm making Flaming Young. You know what I mean? What is an artist? How's an artist going to help me? Like, why would I know an artist and now I make French salads for a living? You know what I mean? Like, and then there I know we're not going to get into the conversations where I can go to these things, but I'm like I wasn't there. You know what I mean? I wasn't there yet, especially back then. Like, I'm not really. Why am I going to Comic Con? You know what I mean? Like I guess it's fun. People love it. Obviously, people love it. It's huge, right? Why am I going? I'm not going to Comic Con just to network with people on the idea that's not done yet. Not doing that. It's just like so. I just never put myself in the situation to know anybody like that. And so I needed something that was going to allow me to put my foot into the industry, open the door at least, crack it even. You know what I mean? So I can peek in. Like something had to happen, and that's what I came up with the publishing. I think that like the publishing is my fun way of doing things. Right? That's just the fun I have. Like I needed something that was going to allow me to do smaller projects that had nothing to do with Voyager, but allow me to network and meet new people in the industry. Meet artists and meet all these different people that are going to be necessary to bring Voyager to life. And every other project, I have other projects outside of Voyager. This is I want to do Voyager first, but I have other stuff, but I can't do anything if I don't know anybody. So I just feel like I just needed something. And again, that's where the publishing came into. And it's like it's not necessarily it's a publishing. It's so breaking it down, I think publishing as at its very at the very tippy top, like that's the top of the pyramid. Only because it is money driven. It's a money driven operation. You know what I mean? Um it doesn't really require me to put anything besides a dollar bill and hire the right people, right? That is at its core, that is the easiest way to get into it, right? So we have publishing at the very top, and then underneath that, there's the studio. The studio that is something of my own design, my own creation. So what I'll end up doing, which I'll probably add into within the next like maybe month or so, um, I'm going to add in a series where it allows me to start my studio, and then I'm gonna start working on my own stuff. You know what I mean? Like I want to build my own studio. I want to learn how to code. I want to learn how to do 3D design. I would like to learn how to do like art and shit like that. That thing I would like that. Not to try to be Mozart or anything like that, but I think learning art would be crazy. So I want to do that. And so I can do all that in my own studio. That I can do it step by step, and I think I'll showcase like I'll probably do like live streams and stuff. I think I'll do more live streams. I don't know how long I'm gonna spend. Maybe 2 4 hours a day. Just doing that. 'Cause I don't have a crazy day, and I think to note that like I don't have a crazy setup. This is I don't know what kind of laptop this is. It was touchscreen and it was big. That's why I bought it. I have no idea what the specs are. I have a second monitor right here. This is an on monitor. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that, but it's a monitor. You know what I mean? I think that what I'm going to do is just slowly but surely learn how to do certain stuff. I'm going to take the time and learn how to do, um, I actually now, let me also say, what I might do more than likely when I really get into like the streaming part of different things, I think that because the 3D design, I know I've done it before on my computer, my home computer. It's an actual computer. It's a custom built PC. Old, but still gets the job done. Um, I'll probably move that here eventually, so I can start working on. There's a couple of things I want to do beforehand, but I'll probably move it here so I can because if I try to do 3D design on this laptop and record the videos and stuff like that, the it's it cuts out. I mean, this thing it slow freezes up. I couldn't even. I think at one point, I made my own card game. I tried to stream it, the card game, and also play the game at the same. And it's on Tabletop Simulator of all things. I've turned everything off. Like there is nothing that runs on it. Right? It's the bare minimum, and it'd be pooping out. Poop just poop. Like it's hard to run it. It's hard to run it for this machine, and so it's okay. But what I'm trying to make is, I think that what I'm going to do is just that. I'm going to bring all that stuff here, and I'll probably have my own setup, and so I can start working on that. And I think we can watch my ability grow. I think what I'm gonna do is learn. Maybe I can learn how to code. I think if I learn how to code, I can probably live stream, learn how to code about 2 4 hours a day, and just start with the basics and slowly work my way up. Just figure out how to code in general. I think that I could probably do that without having to be heavy maintenance. And by the time we get it going, I should have the I should have the setup ready so I can start doing other things. But we'll start with coding. I think we'll start with coding. But the point with the studio is again, breaks it up into two different things, right? It's the creative part and then there's the business part, right? So like the publishing, like that's why I love the way my brain works is I figure out how to do certain things and I make it work for me, right? Like I make it so you everyone you can always digest stuff, but it's just how you digest it makes all the difference, right? Um man, hate to small it back. So terrible chair, by the way. This is like those plastic chairs. Oh, no, it's better than what I had before. Always appreciate the good things that come. So, but I just love the way my brain works. Again, the publishing is pure. It's just money goes into it, and it's using money to make money, right? Like I'm spending 100, 200, 3,000, 4,000, $50,000 to publish certain things, games, books, music, whatever, right? Whatever we decide to publish. And it's published and we make money from it. At its very core, it makes so much sense to me. Low, it just now I know that I just need money to make money, right? That helps me. That helped me, myself, and I, right? And so figuring out that kind of like landscape, I'm like, all right, that's cool. Now I can focus. Like I don't have to figure out like because I think another thing was that for me when always trying to like do different points and components within businesses or ideas that I have, I've always put myself at the center of learning how to do it. Right, like when I started learning how to do 3D design and 3D art and stuff like that. That was learned because I needed I needed to learn 3D art because what I was going to do was I also big brain, right? So remember I told you book, then app. Then I was like, you know what? What if I just did cinematic videos and just kind of started the hype, right? The question is, how do you do cinematic videos? How do you learn how to do that? So you know what I mean? It's just like I can't bring them. I don't know anybody who does 3D art. I was when I was start doing it, no one I know has ever touched or even heard about 3D art, right? They've only just seen it. They didn't even know it was a real thing. You know what I mean? Like, or how complicated it was, or just what goes into it, whatever. So, I was like, if I want to make these videos, I'll figure out how to do it myself. And promise you, for the better part of 4 months, dedicated myself to learning how to do these things, and I learned a lot. I got pretty decent at it. For the break. I got pretty decent at it. You know, I have some designs. I think I can show you some. I think my phone. Let me see if I can. I wanna. Okay, so just stuff, right? Like I just, it's the best I can do right now. But I made a series of planets, for one of my for something I'm working on, right? For one of the for the stories and things like that, right? So I do a lot of different things, right? I wonder what that flashing thing is. Is that the what is that? It's so weird. I don't know if that was like that must be the face scan thing or whatever, right? Anyway, so I made a collection of planets or whatever. That's not that was not the highlight of my work. I just learned how to do it. But I was learning how to do it. You know what I mean? And I never got to the point where I was learning how to make like 3D models and things like that. Because the deeper I got into it, the more complicated it got. Like the more I had to learn. I was trying to do like 3D human models and things like that. I mean, I was every time I would make a design, it would break. Like I couldn't figure out how to make like separate objects, and it just was so much. I was doing character models, and I didn't the whole getting into textures and it's just so much textures, mapping, topology, retopologizing your characters, and all this stuff. Oh my god, all this stuff was just so much. It was just so much, man. I'm telling you, I just couldn't keep it up because again, my circumstances didn't necessarily allow me to take the time that I needed to really sit there and learn it and enjoy it and then, make something of it. Because again, I have other priorities. So couldn't keep doing it. So, but it stuck with me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I really do want to do an animated series. I do want to do my own shows. I do want to do these things. You know what I mean? I want to make those happen. But it's just not feasible. But again, from that point, it goes the story, the concept evolves. And so it just continue to do that. And so, for me, just the notion of having the studio, again, that's just me putting money into so it's like my own savings account. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. It's like I put my money into it, I grow that money and then, I budget out projects. That's it. Like I know I say, hey, I got 20 grand. This is my budget for this project and this is what I want done. And we're going to try and stay in that budget. You know what I mean? Like we're going to try our darndest to stay in that budget. That's all it is. It's very straightforward. I don't know how. I just find people who know how to do the things that I need done. I think that was it. The studio is just me having more fun, right? But it is broken up into two different parts. It's the creative part, right? And if you were here the last couple videos, I always like to write while I'm talking, because I always like to review. This is how I do I don't watch my own videos. I just write. I just review my notes and stuff like that. Like I don't. Like this was like from the last one, and a couple other ones. It's a lot of paper. Just kind of like just. I just. That's how I remember things. But the studio itself is split up into two different components. There's the creative part, creative aspect, and then there's the business aspect, right? And so I'm not going to bore you guys on, what each one is. Well, the business side, I won't bore you with that one because again, that's just business. That's just to make stuff look good or whatever. But the creative part, again, that's just me. That is going to be me learning how to do stuff, right? That is me learning how to code. I'm going to learn how to do 3D art. I'm going to learn how to do 2D art. I'm going to that is my learning lesson, and I'm going to sigh in my heart. I would love start networking with people. You know what I mean? Like just finding new people to work with and stuff like that, and bring them to the studio because I need there are gonna be people who know things that I don't know, and then this has to be it's a real thing, I just feel like as a personal tip, like, I just still want to learn how to do certain things, because especially when Voyager comes out, like I want to be able to look at my own game and then recognize code, you know what I mean? Or I want to be able to like say like, yeah, this was a whole series, but I made that bush. You know what I mean? Like that's what I want to be able to say. And it's just I think when it just comes down to just conversations and thoughts like that, you just kind of like I just want to have the most fun with it. I don't really care for huge profit or return or anything like that. As long as I bring people on to the studio, I want to be able to pay my people. You know what I mean? I want to be able to if you want to work with me, I want to be able to pay you, and then I think I want to pay you great too. I think I want to have fun because I want to be able to pay you great because I just feel like none of this can be done without you, right? That's how I kind of see the thing, and so. It's just like I just want to have the most fun with it. I don't really care to be like insanely. I don't want to be the next Bill Gates or anything like that. I just want to have fun. I just want to create something great. Like there's a time where people invented things just for the heck of it, and that's what I want to do. I just want to do this just for the heck of it. And so I want to just wrap up by saying, I mean, in this case, for this one, I'm going to point and say, no matter what you want to do, no matter what obstacles coming to your way. I think I talked about can you see yourself doing it in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, et cetera, et cetera. Like once you get to that 5 year mark, you should know if you like something or not, right? When you get that 10 year mark, you should know like that's going to be your career. And once you get to the 15 mark, you'll do this until the day you die. Like you have like that right there is your first step, and above all that, it's just staying consistent. I think like you have to have a consistent mentality, right? Where you don't have to do some one thing specifically on it consistently every single day until whenever, never, never, because that thing will always change. And like just like for me, it always ended up changing. It wasn't just a like, yeah, I need to consistently learn how to do this every day, and then I'll make it. And it's no, it's just you have to consistently find, you have to consistently move forward. I think you have to find what you want to do. Again, using that notion, 5, 10, 15. Using that, you'll figure out like, yeah, if I like this, boom. And it's like because everyone has like slight interest. Everyone you always have a something that you think you find interesting. Like I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now for myself, but there are things that I can't say that. But I was really, really little. When I was a little kid. Um, I wanted to be a cheesemaker. And it's funny to say I don't know why. I don't know why I wanted to be a cheesemaker. I love cheese, but I had no idea where that came from, but I wrote it down, and my family will never let me forget that. The only reason I remember that is because they would never let me forget that. They're like, "Remember you wanted to be a cheesemaker?" Don't know why this gets brought up all the time. I don't know if that's like divine intervention that I should be out here making cheese, throughout my day, just be at home and spoiling milk. You know what I mean? Making mozzarella. I don't know if that's what I should be doing. I don't know if that's where my true happiness lies, but they always bring it up, and I don't know. I just feel like I probably saw something that I was pretty interested in. I probably watched a cheese documentary or something like that. Probably like how they make blue cheese or something. It's probably what I watched, and I was like, I want to make blue cheese. Or that's probably what I said. I'm just gonna go on a limb and say that, but you know. I obviously didn't know I do not want to make cheese for the rest of my life. Like, if there's any consolation, I don't want to make cheese for the rest of my life. And so, um, you just have to you have those interests, those light interests where you see something and it looks cool, you're like, I want to do that too, and then but you don't really take that 5, 10, because I'm like now, it was probably like what 8 or something like that. I want to say it was probably like 8 or whatever the case is. Yeah, probably like 8 around there. Um, I vaguely remember that, but I think I'm going to say around that age range right there. Um, I'm going to, yeah, I'm gonna say 8. I'm gonna say about 8 or whatever. But I mean, I couldn't see myself doing it. For if I at my big age, once I got into like the adult range, 15, 16, 17, I'm like, yeah, I'm not making cheese. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not making any cheese, man. Like, I don't see myself doing that for 5 years. So it wouldn't be something I would pursue. I think like photography was something that I've been doing photography for maybe 3 years, 3 years, about 3 years now. Coming up on 4, and since then, I mean, I've always just tried to find my style, But I mean, for the 5 years, my 5 year mark is coming up, and I'm like, fuck with it. I can see myself doing it for another 5. I can see myself doing it for another 15. Hell yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that's something I love. And then food, same way. Work wise, hell no. Then I gave my 10 years. I said, fuck that. No way. Cut that off. My head, you know what I'm saying? Like, no more, no more. But to learn how to cook, to become a better chef, like to really take the time and learn how to make bread, desserts. I'm not really big on beef, but to make good beef, right? Steak, ribs, like s- taste cuisines from across the world. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I learned how to make fried rice the other year. You know what I'm saying? Like, hell yeah. Love that shit. Yeah, I'm still going to the carry out, but I love that I know how to make it. you know. I can see myself doing that for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like cooking and photography. That's my passion. I love that. But and again, storytelling. You know what I mean? Like storytelling. I love storytelling. I love to create a good story. Make a great plot that people can enjoy. Like I think that shit is awesome. And if I had to put any of those in the business, again, the storytelling was the business driver. You know what I mean? I think like that's what it is. It's publishing, studios, all this other stuff. And so that's why I say it's just you have to consistently move forward. You can't let one failure knock you down. You can't you can't allow your ego to overshadow your purpose. You just can't stop moving. Because if you do, you'll never know what the finish line look like. You know what I mean? Like you have to keep going, no matter what. And so I think I do want to leave you guys with that one. I don't want to go with I don't want to drag it on or anything like that. So I think I'll just wrap it up. But I will say, I just want to leave you guys with that. Just consistently move forward, consistently move. And I know like all the rest of us, we want to see what the finish line looks like. We don't want to just hear people talk about it. So I'll leave you guys with that. So for next week, what I think I'm gonna do, I went over this next week, I'm getting a couple things in order, but I think I'm going to learn how to do certain things. I think that for one, I'm gonna learn this little setup portion. I'm gonna figure that part out, and I think I'm going to talk about the two games. So I've been working on I've been working on figuring out like exactly when I have my publishing studio. Like, my publishing studio goes live. You guys will be the first to know one of these long rants. I know no one will watch these, so this will be like a hmm, Easter egg or something like that. Is that like an Easter egg? I don't know. Don't really care. But you guys watch this, you'll know what I'm working on. If you ever wanted to know, I think that's what I'm going to put there. If you ever really want to know what I have planned and what I have in mind, you want to get an inkling of what's going on, just watch one of these long ass videos. But point was, I've been trying to figure out game wise, like what's going to be my first game. I could not figure that out, for the long time. I think there's a lot of genres to pull from, but I think, in regards of like potential, right? Let me just say that in regards of like potential or what I could potentially be doing. Um, I think what made most sense. I don't know, was a Vampire Survivor like that. I don't know if that's like a genre now, but an endless survival game was one, and I wanted to do a what do you call it? Um, Platformer kind of game. I think it's like a platformer, and endless survival and a platformer. Now look, this is gonna be crazy. Cause I see I got 15 minutes. Because I did say these videos are gonna get longer and longer and longer. So whatever, I'm gonna utilize these last 15 minutes. So there's Predator. I'm gonna call them Predator and Prey, right? And so they're going to be two games that are synonymous with each other, right? So Predator is going to be the endless survivor, right? And then Prey is going to be the platformer, right? Um, with the notion of Predator, right? The objective is going to be like your objective is not so it's an endless wave, right? But your objective is to get the prey, right? There's going to be a specific I'm going to have like a specific, character, right? Whereas your goal is to capture so it's going to be like ooh, I just thought about something crazy too, because I was trying to figure out like how you was going to make it make sense, narrative wise. But it's going to be, I'm just thinking about aliens and predators just now, and so like it's just going to be like that. So remember, or not aliens versus predators. I'm sorry, well predators, right? So the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, first part of the movie he's being hunted. Second part of the movie he's the hunter. You feel me? You feel me? You feel me? You feel me? You pick it up. So tea time. What a break. So with Predator, okay, your objective is to find the one person. Okay. Now, there's going to be obstacles, of course, because you have to have waves and hordes and stuff like that. There are going to be things to stop you. Okay. But as each wave completes, the person that you are fighting, that's supposed to fight and things like that, as you level up, he will level up. Right. And so he levels up, you level up, and to a point where you come to a head, right? Where it's like an endless game of cat and mouse. Okay, so like as you're playing the game, because you have to find him, like that's the thing, you have to find him on the map, right? And at some point, right, y'all are going to intersect, and when you intersect, I think the thing is like, are you going to defeat him, or is he going to escape, right? And then again, you keep going down, right? And so as the waves continue to go and go and go, you level up, he levels up, right? He attacks monsters just like how you attack monsters, he attacks monsters, right? And so he gets upgrades and just like that, and just to a point where he will eventually start seeking you out, right? And so now that he's become stronger because he's had certain monsters and things like that, you know what I'm saying, that he's absorbed, he's going to find you, hunt you down, and it's your job to stay as far away. Say you gotta survive the round, right? So 'cause you're the ultimate enemy until you get something that you become a little more powerful. And so how you build your character, your points, your weapons, and things like that. All that does matter. That's just all that's going to matter. And so you have an endless game of cat and mouse, right? That's Predator. Prey, on the other hand, is going to be you start out as prey. So it's the roles are reversed. So sin is guys said that's why they'll be synonymous, right? As you, it's a platformer. So with prey, with predator, there's a predator chasing you the entire time you're playing this platformer. The predator is chasing you. Okay, and now for the platformer, it's not going to be an endless thing. It is an objective, but you have to make it to the objective, which makes it difficult, right? And so eventually, so as you start out as prey, and you work your way up. The predator is going to find you, to escape. You get level up, you get companions, things like that, right? You build your pack, whatever. And as you go deeper into the game, the predator does get stronger, but you can also start attacking the predator, and you could kill the predator. And it's a smooth sailing. You could kill the predator in a smooth sailing to the objective, right? Great, we love that. But he could attack him. He could escape, and he comes back a little bit stronger, right? And when he comes back a little stronger, again, it's not cat and mouse because you're just trying to make it to the objective. But it's just the roles in reverse, So you never really become. So you don't go from prey to predator, like predator. The hunter becomes the hunted. It doesn't do anything like that, but you do, as far as you start as prey, start as easy target, and you can slowly build up so you can start defending yourself more, right? Because like as you've seen, you know, what do you call it? What do you call that? Like, I don't know, what do you call that buffalo thing? But when the buffaloes are a baby, predators will attack the baby because they're defenseless. But when they grow up, right? But they don't like just because it's an adult buffalo or adult elephant or whatever it is, that does not mean that you become the predator. So, just different things. But those are the two. Those are the two games that I have, lined up. I'm going to start with Predator. That I'm going to start with that one first, and then come up with Prey second. I'll probably do a test run, let people play the test run, see what they like, and then I make the full game, see what people like that, and then we'll just go from there. But that's just a little inside. That's a little insider trading right there for you guys. A little inside, little look into what I got going on. Next week, I don't know what we'll rant about next week, but again, I'm waiting for our 3-hour video. It's coming. I hope y'all get excited. But that's it. I'm gonna leave it there. I almost got to my hour mark. I don't really have anything else to say. Signing out.